Hello, everyone. My name is Eric K. Thomas. I'm the editor-in-chief of The Quintessential Gentleman, and today we are talking to the founders of JohnTom's Barbecue Sauce. Super excited to speak to these gentlemen today as we learn more about what came into the process of starting this barbecue sauce, their success, and hopefully we get some tips from them. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing well. Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. You know, trying to deal with this climate change of a weather, but we doing all right up here. I'm in New York City. Where you guys all at right now?
I'm in Muncie, Indiana.
Okay.
I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay.
And I am in mid-Michigan, a little town called Frankenmuth, Michigan right now.
Okay. Okay. How's the weather where you at in Michigan?
We got some snow, so it's blistering cold. We got to deal with that being this far north.
It's okay. We'll let you have that. We just don't bring it over to this New York side. Awesome. So could you all go ahead and introduce yourself so that we all know who you guys are, and we'll start with Lathay.
Yes, my name is Lathay. Last name is Pegues. I am actually the creator of the JohnTom's.
Awesome. Rodney?
Rodney Robinson, partner of JohnTom's Barbecue. I'm responsible for sales and business development.
Last but not least.
I'll round this out. My name is Terrell Cooper. I'm also a partner of JohnTom's Barbecue, and I'm responsible for our marketing.
Awesome. So first and foremost, I want to know what makes JohnTom's barbecue sauce so special. And we'll go ahead. We can start with you, Lathay.
What we tend to get from the public and everyone that tastes it is honestly, it's the taste. We get told a lot that, you know, people have tasted many barbecue sauces. A lot of them kind of taste alike. But even chefs, we always have chefs trying to guess what ingredients we have in our sauce that is making ours a little unique or a little different. And in fact, there's a chef, a female in Ohio, and she owns her own restaurants. And we did a little collab thing not too long ago. And she was like, I'm usually good at this. She said, but there's something in there that I cannot put my finger on. And I told her I get that a lot. And that's a fact. There is something. When I was creating these sauces, I did a lot of research on sauce, compared what everybody was putting in the sauce. And my idea was to throw some things in there that I hadn't seen. And so I know what she can't put her finger on, but I can't tell it. Can't tell anybody.
Take it to the grave.
Right.
Awesome. So I want to stay with you and I want to dive a little deeper. And I want to know, what was the inspiration before, by creating this sauce? What got you in there?
The namesake, John Tom, is my grandpa. His name was John Tom Branson. He was from Madison County, Mississippi. He and all of his family, his parents and siblings, everybody migrated north during the Great Migration, looking for better life and better jobs. And he landed in Muncie, Indiana. And he brought with him this love and passion for barbecue. It was what he lived for. He was a factory worker, and he retired from the factory, and upon retirement he was going to open his own barbecue restaurant. He had developed the sauce before I was born. He had developed his secret sauce, and when he passed away, we realized he never wrote the recipe down for this sauce. So when I was an adult, I got this crazy idea to try to mimic my grandpa's sauce, and this took me on this 5-year journey of trying to crack the code. And along the way, I came up with my own recipe, and that was really the inspiration behind what you're seeing today.
Awesome. So how did Lathay meet up with Rodney and Terrell, excuse me.
So go ahead, Terrell.
Yeah, so Lathay and I are first cousins. So John Tom Branson, he's a real person. So everything that Lathay just shared with you is factual, and that was our grandfather. So I'm a few years younger, so I didn't get the pleasure and the fortune of being in the kitchen to help prepare, but I do vividly remember my grandfather growing up. And I give you just one quick tip, man. He built his own smoker on the side of his house. So that was just the passion that he had and the commitment to his craft, that he built it brick by brick. He cut his own sheet metal. He would chop his wood to smoke whatever smoked meat that he would cook and prepare. But it was that sauce that everybody loved. So I had the firsthand experience, and Lathay and I are our first cousins.
Got it. And then how did Rodney get into the mix?
Go ahead and tell that story.
Embellish it. So all of us, for a little background, all of us fraternity brothers out of mighty fraternity of Kappa Alpha Psi, all went to IU. So me and Lathay met in college as my best friend. So as he was embarking on this journey, he reached out to Terrell and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting my own barbecue sauce company." And then Terrell asked, "You need some help?" And he said, "Yeah, cool." And then Lathay reached out to me and said, since Rodney was working with me in the fraternity as a first vice president, and I had a business background, he said, "Well, let's just bring him over." So I'm gonna let Lathay tell the story of how we really came about, because I think that's it's authentic how he tells that story.
Yeah, for the sake of time, I'll keep it short. But my background is broadcast journalism. And so at the time when I decided that this was the route I was going to go, I was living in Milwaukee, and I was an on-air personality for a TV station there. And we lost our jobs. They closed down shop. And so that's when I decided that I was going to start this business. And so Terrell had called me one evening just checking on me, and I told him my plans, and he said, "Cuz, do you need some help?" I said, I do. And so we started putting our heads together, and I told Terrell, I said, "There's one more person I want to add to the mix," and that was Rodney. And so we had me and Rodney, we pledged together. So we had our anniversary coming up, and he and I and some more of our Sands were meeting in Miami. And so Rodney said, "Well, I'm not gonna say yes to something I haven't tasted. So bring some sauce to Miami with you." And that was back when you can put a ball jar of sauce in your carry-on and take it to Miami. And I did that, and we get there, and one day, I think it were 7 or 8 of us there, and we're all in one room, and I just pulled this jar of barbecue sauce out of my bag, and the brothers were like, "Man, what is that?" I said, "Try it. This is barbecue sauce I created." And so they just took the lid off, and everybody started dipping their fingers in it. It's pre-COVID. Everybody started dipping in it and tasting it. Well, I realized Rodney is just kind of standing back, watching. I think he wanted to see what everybody else's reactions were. And so he's seeing these reactions, like they were like, "Man, you got to do something with this." So Rodney steps up, he sticks his finger in it, tastes it. He got a little taste, and then he leaned into me and was like, "Hey, I'm in." That's all it took, man. And we had our team for him.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you said, Terrell, you are a member of Kappa Alpha Psi as well, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
And see, it got that little legacy thing. I'm an alpha, but we'll move forward.
I would say interview
but
over.
Look, I'm about to say, he said, "Look, I got this color on right now." Oh man, not this red.
You well dressed and prepared. We appreciate that.
The wrong color.
I love it, brother. I love it.
I got a black and gold one over there. I gotta go throw that on.
Keep rolling. I'm
gonna edit it in.
It's
all love, divine love, fraternity, Black brotherhood. I'm all here for it, and this is awesome. So I have a quick question. So for you, Lathay, what was it that was like? Because you quit your job. Why was it like, okay, now I want to go do this barbecue thing? You know, you've already been doing the kind of in the space, you know, you had grandfather, but what was it that pushed you to say that this is what you wanted to do?
I can't lie. I had flirted with the idea for some years. Like, what can I do this? Especially when I created it and I was always getting the reactions I was getting. I was like, man, what could I do with this one day? I don't know. So it wasn't like this impulse decision. But when I learned that I was losing my job in Milwaukee, there were a couple things that already happened. One, I was really burned out on television news. I had a small family. You know, my wife had 2 kids at the time. It's a lot of moving around from state to state, long hours, crazy hours. And I was a little burnt out on it. And so that made it easier for me to be like, okay, wait a minute. What could I do with this sauce? And the one thing that really made me say, okay, I'm going to try it, is I had this thought. I said, you know what? If I don't try this now, I probably never will. I'll probably just find another broadcast job that takes me over the country somewhere, and I'll never try it. And I'll get mad at myself later in the years if I never try this. And so once I start doing research and finding out that, man, this is possible, like there's a place you can make sauce and it's safe for people to eat. And I know where to get bottles. I know where to get labels. Once everything made sense to me, I was like, why not? And so I took that leap.
Yeah. So I want to get from Rodney. So you have this sauce, you were all in, let's make it happen. What were your steps? What did you think about? Like, what was the next thing? What has to happen?
The first thing I thought was, how do we monetize this? How do we make this into a business? Now, I'm a business major. Terrell's a journalism major or a marketing major. Lathay's a journalism major. We have no idea how to do this. We're in the food industry. It's a whole different genre. So we just did what everybody else did. We just hustled. We just did a lot of research, a lot of sweat equity. Like Lathay mentioned, we found some bottles in Wisconsin. We found a kitchen incubator south of Indianapolis rather. And we found out, just took a whole bunch of ingredients, went down to the place, drove 2.5 hours, took us 4.5 hours to make if we got it right the first time, and I'll come back to that. And then drive back 3.5 hours and hope we got a product. And then it yielded some product and just to move and sell. So one key factor here is the fact that we had to create this stuff ourselves. So just if you're making a pot of spaghetti for 4 people, that's one thing. If you're making a pot of spaghetti for 100 people, that's different. You got to need more tomato sauce. So the measurements. So we had to do all of this and hope we get it right. We failed a lot of times. Yeah. There were so many times, man. I mean, that's a whole nother story. We came home to tail between our legs, upset, wasted a bunch of money and time with no product, but we learned. So fast forward, we had when they took over, or when they the meeting that we had in Miami, and what I said I signed on, that was what, April of 2006.
Okay.
In July of 2006, there was a program called Indiana Black Expo. We said this is a perfect time for us to try to showcase our product and sell it. So from inception, when we said we would work together to do this product, we had bottles, we had a manufacturer that we went to make, we had a website, a label, the nice logo that you see. Terrell was responsible for that. So we did all of this within like a 3 or 4 month turnaround, all to have maybe, I don't know, 48 cases to sell at this event called Black Expo. We sold out in 2.5 days.
Wow.
So at that point, we said, Dan, we got a product. So I'll pause there.
So Terrell, tell me, what was your strategy after the expo? So you have it. We said, okay, we were already, I mean, at that point, I won't say there was no marketing, but there was no external marketing because you had a particular demo that you, or an audience you were going to sell to. But now, to Rodney's point, how to monetize, how do we make this bigger? What was your thought process after that expo when y'all were like, okay, let's move forward?
Right. So, I mean, just knowing, for one, the marketability of the product was critical. That was key. And we put so much emphasis and focus on getting to that stage to just show up. The interesting thing was when people seeing us, they were like, so where is your company? Where are you located? How many employees do you have? Not knowing that it was just us three and that was our first showing. Yeah. So a lot of that focus and effort went into showing up at the first time. But I'll tell you this, man, a lot of what we done has been focused on really the channels. So we really focused a lot on the retail space out the gate. To Rodney's point, we failed a lot. We failed fast, didn't really understand the dynamic of it. We made a pivot. We started positioning ourselves for more wholesale and food service accounts. That gave us a little bit of spark and momentum that we needed. So we've continued to ride that wave, getting some of the accounts like the likes of Lucas Oil Stadium, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, IU, Purdue, Notre Dame. We've got some pretty notable blue chip accounts in the food
I was going to ask
space.
you real quick. I was going to say, what was that one cosign, I would say, that you really feel kind of helped with the trajectory of where you are now?
I would say our first major food service account right in our hometown of Ball State University. So I'm originally born and raised in Muncie, Indiana. That's where my roots are, of course, but I know that they had worked tirelessly to really get in with those chefs and establish themselves in our brand with their chefs. But I think that first big opportunity really kind of co-signed us and gave us the ability to secure our first distributor, get a larger manufacturer and product run, and really kind of set us on the path to say, like, food services is a path in a lane that we need to exploit. So to answer your question, a lot of it's been like a channel strategy. What's going to make the most sense? How do we position ourselves throughout the respective channels? But food service is definitely our primary focus, and we're starting to explore more within Amazon now and more in the online space.
Awesome. So we have 3 Black men who entered into a business, let's just say a business as a whole. And we know how Black men, how challenging it is to start a business, challenging to be Black men and start businesses. And then you're going into a food space where we're not normally in as well. So I want to know, and anyone can answer or add to, is what were some of like the major challenges that you had being in that particular space?
I'll start. Just getting through the door, finding out who the buyer was, getting the reputation, and Terrell gave us a lot of some success that we've had recently. But I'll just expand a little bit on some of the prior. Before that, before we got into the Ball States, where we were hustling out the trunk. We had a lot of restaurants around the town, the city of Indianapolis and Muncie. We're just going up to them. Who's your chef? What's the name of your chef? Will you meet with us? Taste this product. How are you going to get it to us? Well, we'll deliver it to you. So they took us on our word. So by that, we had sweat equity under us. And then we started leveraging those chefs, notable chefs, and saying, hey, we have these accounts. But to Terrell's point, we didn't really get taken too seriously until we had a distributor. We need to have a mover. We need to have some type of distribution. And so that's when we got into the likes of these other major distributors here in the city and regionally that got us in. So some of our hurdles it was the reputation. Could we scale? Could we provide the product on time? Because it's service industry, you understand, and it's a local product. So one time we miss, we're done.
Yeah, reputation.
Absolutely.
To add on to that, I think what a lot of minorities we witness in trying to do business is access to capital. That was another one. I think what I've learned is a lot of times, and I'll just speak for me. A lot of times, we as minorities, we may miss out on some things just because we're not in the right circles. We're not, we're not in those circles, or we're not in those environments that, we may be able to capitalize on a relationship. And I know that's why we've been successful, because we've done a great job of putting ourselves in those spaces with the right people and making the right relationships. And then once you're embraced in that circle, you start to find that people really do want to help you. So, you know, we started finding that, okay, because of a relationship that I had cultivated with this guy that worked at a bank, local bank here, a credit union. He was able to go to bat for us and fight to get us some access to some capital. So yeah, that was another challenge that, you know, that we faced. But once we start finding some right connections and right people to talk to, then that helped.
Man, I'm sorry, Eric, just one more build, because I think we all have experienced our failures and challenges in this. But I think the biggest key, just to round it out, is that you learn from it. You know, you don't continue to like fall and not get up. So every time that we came across the challenge, or there was a hurdle, or we failed, we continued to keep pushing forward. And I think that's what's allowed us to continue to be a mainstay in the space. So just I think we got to continue to echo that. A lot of minority businesses may have these hurdles and challenges, and they don't feel like there's a way to like pick it up or keep going. But I think we are a walking, breathing testament of continue to push through, continue to stick with it, regardless of which our hurdles or failures may be.
So we're now in 2023. We're in the digital age, social media age. How has social media benefited in the explosion, or the, I would say, maximizing the audience in terms of introducing them to your product?
Man, you know, the social space is it's fluid. It's always changing, right? And by all means, I don't think that we've really reached the pinnacle that we desired to reach within the social space, but it's allowed us to build a following. It's allowed us to really give ourselves a reputable space to show people what we're doing and to connect with us at a distance. People see us. You know, Lathay, he'll tell you, like, people will see him out and about, oh, that's the barbecue guy, or they'll see him around, but like, hey, man, I saw your update or what progress or what things you're doing. So, you know, we've got fans all across the continental US. Like we've hit, you know, 36 plus states out of the 50. So being able to have that reach and that spread, and then of course being on platforms like Amazon, it's really started to change the perspective of how we do things. But man, we just getting started. I think there's a lot more opportunity for us to grow and evolve in the social space.
Rodney, were you going to say something?
I was just going to echo what Terrell said, is that we've had to adapt. Initially, we were going through the retail space, the traditional likes of Kroger's and Marsh and those, but with the freedom and resiliency and the fluidity of social media, there's a whole nother world. A whole nother reach. So we can just turn some levers from a marketing perspective and get, you know, and get some sales and reach that way as well.
For sure. So did we, as if, because, you know, I'm a part of this now. I would say we now. Did we, so when you all started out, was it one sauce and then you started the different flavors, or did you kind of put together the different flavors that you go? Like, kind of what was the timeline on kind of the introduction of the new taste?
So when I started making the sauce, I first created what is called JohnTom's Original. So that was the only sauce that I had. Well, I love spicy food. And so I said, well, I already have a base, I already have a sauce. So let me just tweak this, add some spice to it, and then I'll have a second flavor. That's what's known as the Sneaky Hot. The name was easy because my grandpa, he had a sauce that he called Sneaky Hot. And so I just took his name and applied it to that. So when we finally started and went to market, we had those two sauces. The JohnTom's Original, we started off calling it, we called it sweet and mild. But, you know, Terrell, with his great marketing mind, later down the road, decided that, you know, we should just, that's our original sauce. We should name that JohnTom's Original. So that's why we had to switch. But yeah, it was, out the gate when we went to market, those were our two flavors. And then what we've been really good at listening to our customer base. And so once we had those two out there for a while, we start really hearing more customers say, love that sneaky hot, but it can be a little spicier. Our thought process was, man, we live in Indiana, very mild taste here. So we thought that the sneaky hot was suffice, but as the years start going by, I think people's palates started changing, and they start really asking for a hotter version. That's the Hoosier Heat that we have. And then they started asking for a mustard-based sauce for some years until we decided, you know what, maybe it's time to pull the trigger on the mustard base. So we really listen to our customer base and their wants before we make that decision to just throw anything out there. And that's how we came up with the 4 sauces that we have now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what do you all kind of envision? What are you looking for? What can we look forward to next from John Tom's barbecue sauce?
So, man, we of course, everybody in this space who has a product that's out there on the market. I mean, I would have to guess that all of our endeavors is to be that next big condiment. We definitely have aspirations to not just take this nationwide, but we have some dreams of an international play. And just trying to figure out our strategy and how we move forward in doing that. We've forged a lot of relationships. There are a lot of things that are sitting in front of us right now. It just seems like all the stars are starting to line up to where we can really now see where this thing is headed. So, we want John Tom's to be a household name that everyone knows. And honestly, I don't think you'll be surprised in a few years if you don't see that.
No, I get, and I see it now. It's so interesting because as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking of barbecue sauce, and whenever in the house, oh, just hand me the barbecue sauce, hand me the barbecue sauce. But now hot sauces, hand me the Texas Pete or hand me the name. And I would love to see you guys, hey, make sure you go hand me the John Tom's. You know what I mean? Like that's the idea, and that's a household name. So I definitely could see that happen for you all for sure. It's the name is amazing, and I would love to try the product. I gotta get on your website and see where I can order it on Amazon, but definitely would like to get one for sure.
So Eric, just to build on that too.
Sure.
So I'm gonna add to that. We definitely want to be a household name from the food services and also retail from a branding perspective. But also when you see John Tom's and you hear John Tom's, you don't just look at a barbecue sauce or a condiment. It's associated with what our grandfathers stood for, passion, persistent dedication. So with the likes of we want to have partnerships with critical and more strategic players in the industry. So we're not just doing it just to sell a product. We want that vision to be heard. So we do a lot of community outreach in terms of we talk to certain entrepreneurs in certain schools to show that, hey, just like what we're doing right now today, it's not easy. Keep it up, right? But we want to talk about our successes as well as our failures, because we know it's not just a highlight reel. It is a marathon. So we want that story to live on, not just to be known as a product, and that brand will move on.
Terrell, do you want to add anything?
I mean, we all share a collective vision and how we're going to move forward, but I would just say look out for some product extensions and some different things that we can bring to market to help diversify our portfolio. Dry seasonings, rubs, marinades, wing sauces, things of that nature. So we'll continue to innovate and bring new products forward. But like Lathay and Rodney said, I mean, we got global ambitions. It's not just a product. It's not just a sauce, but it's a lifestyle. It's a mindset that we actually want people to appreciate and adopt. So it's bigger than what's in the bottle. It's much bigger.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for taking the time to speak with me. Make sure everyone listening in today go and check out their website. It's John Tom's Barbecue, bbq.com. And just check out for them. I'm pretty sure you can search it on Amazon, right? They should be able to search and be able to purchase it, correct?
Yes. They can go to Amazon right now and search John Tom's.
Perfect. That is. Well, thank you all for joining us, and I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great day.
All right, you do the same.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it, Eric.